Hello, everyone. So, I have a lot to share today, and it's all going to be under the umbrella of you being a magnetic being. You are a magnetic human, and when you practice being, you increase your magnetic resonance. And that's why I want to title this Magnetic Being, because you are a magnetic being, but you're also a magnetic human. And when you learn how to be, which to me means you're able to work with your emotions without leaving your house. In other words, sometimes we feel like we want connection, or we feel like we want to call a friend because we're lonely or we're bored or we're sad. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So we don't judge ourselves on this journey. But what we forget sometimes is that this universe is a vibrational universe. Everything holds an electromagnetic charge. And whenever you leave your house or you step out of your alignment to fill a void, there is a frequency outside of you that is more magnetic than you in that moment. So what happens if you have a stronger magnet? It's going to pull you out of your now. It's going to pull you out of your center, and then you're going to fill that void by reaching for that higher magnetic charge. And everything, it doesn't matter if it's a person or an inanimate object, everything holds a magnetic charge. I was thinking about this the other day. Like, have you guys ever seen that hip abductor machine at the gym? The one where you go like this and it helps with your glutes and stuff? That machine is super magnetic. Everyone wants it. And even when you sit on that machine, there's someone else waiting for it. There's a line for that machine. So there's something about the way that it's been configured or designed that pulls to it. There's a demand. There's a high demand for it. So again, it doesn't matter if it's an object or a TV show. I was also thinking about other TV shows like Real Housewives and all these different shows on TV, which you might say they're stupid. You know, everyone has their own perspective. I'll watch it once in a while because I like to psychoanalyze everyone, and everything's so unpredictable, even though it's scripted, but you guys get the gist. That show, the reason why it's been so successful is because there's a formula. And my belief, and I was talking to the nine about this, I said, what is it about this show or these different shows or this machine that really draws to it success and just followers all the time? And they said to me that because the way that it's constructed or designed allows for a higher energy to come in. So if you can think of the Council of Nine, you have 9 men at a round table. There's always new downloads that are going to come in because every one of those men has a different personality, or women have a different personality. And then that allows for higher information to stream in. So if you take a show like Real Housewives, they choose very strategically women who have different personalities. And then, you know, everyone who's watching can relate to someone on the show. And then they might hate someone else, but then they can also see when they're watching the show how that other person has a perspective that's valid. So there's always a winning formula. So the hip abductor machine is a winning formula. Everyone wants that machine. Other shows that have been around for a long time, they have a winning formula about them. It's a factor of unpredictability. It's magic. It's magic. And it's a certain frequency that keeps magnetizing the audience. All right. So today I want to talk about how to harness your life force so that you can be your own solution, so that you can really connect to all that you are and know that you never have to chase the dragon's tail again. You never have to chase that pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Never. So, because we're in physicality, we're gonna have to be and do. That's just part of it. It's a construct of duality. But how I perceive it is like I do a lot in meditation. I also do a lot by doing these videos, but to me, that's just being. Like, I have so much joy doing it and giving you guys this free content. So to me, the be do, because you have to be and do and you have to be and do, the doing for me is these very intensive meditations I do. Also going to the gym. And the gym to me isn't some like a common what everyone else does. For me is I'm in tune with my kundalini, so when I'm there, I'm activating new DNA strands. I'm also learning how to work with light, with energy. So if I do a stretch, I can actually see color pop out of my hands, and then I can start to do all these different geometrical structures or patterns or all these different rays of light, and I can kind of play with the energy. And then I can go into my different chakras and into my system to find blockages or to activate portals. So to me, the gym is a very spiritual endeavor. It's not my only spiritual endeavor. It's just what I do in the morning time. And then I'll usually do 2 more meditations. One that is seated, so I can be in more of a passive state to receive downloads. And the other one that's more active, which is when I bring in Merlin and I work with energy and wielding my powers. So to me, the doing is where I choose to invest my time, focus, and energy to allow me to enjoy the being. My work is just being. It's like the meditation for me. It's another form of meditation. It's not as intensive as a meditation sometimes, but to me, we're always going to have, there's always going to be a trade-off. There's going to be a being and a doing. Some people have to go to work and do 8 hours a day, which is as okay, because when you get home, you can just be. You can give yourself permission to just decompress. But anyways, today I want to touch on how there are always different energies that are pulling us or that we're pulling in. Now, the first message I want to share with you guys is anytime that you're asking for something outside of you, so you're placing a request in the universal jukebox of life, and you're like, universe, I'm placing this order and I would like for this and this and that to manifest. Anytime you do that, to understand that what you're asking for vibrates higher than you. That's the first step. Because if it wasn't vibrating higher than you, you wouldn't be asking for it. You just wouldn't. Now, I did get another message from the 9 a few weeks ago, which blew my mind, which was that this reality was set up to ask for things, because when you go, whoop, you plant a seed or you throw a desire out there, you're going to reach for it, and that allows you to grow. So you're growing your limbs. You're like a plant that's reaching for the light, and the light might be something like, I want a nice car, or I want to meet the love of my life. And when you place that request, you're reaching for that. And the way that this reality has been designed is that you're naturally going to grow through that, which I thought was a brilliant message from the 9, because it subtracted shame out of the equation. Because a lot of times we've been judged for asking for things outside of us. You know, in your organized religion or whatever, it might be a sin to chase something, or it might be a sin to want material things or financial success. I'm not saying that's the way it is. I'm saying that's just one perspective. But what I loved about this message I received is that it's just another way to grow. And because you may not have the tool, and the only way that you know how to go about that is to ask for something, which is great because it does hold a higher frequency. And then by reaching for it, you're naturally going to grow. So you're growing your limbs, right? You're like a little fairy, and you ask for something and you start to grow, and you eventually become a match to it. So I thought that download was absolutely brilliant. But going back to what I was saying, whenever you ask for something outside of you, it's important to note that it is vibrating higher than you. The download I'm getting now is, if you're vibrating higher than, let's say, a sexual encounter that's anonymous, like a hookup, okay, or like a booty call. If you vibrate higher than that, meaning maybe you've already done that and you've kind of surpassed that level. It would be really easy for you to manifest it today because it's vibrating lower than you. And I'm just using higher and lower in this video just to kind of draw a point. But you guys get the idea. There is such a thing as higher and lower. It's frequency. There are different frequency ranges, if you will. So let's say that you vibrate higher than just your anonymous sexual encounter. There's nothing wrong if you do that today. But if you're able to go and snap your fingers, abracadabra, and it falls in your lap, I would say you're not challenging yourself enough. I would say you're not challenging yourself enough. Because what I do is I'm always reaching for the unseen. Always. I'm always reaching for something that I'm not able to necessarily get today at the snap of a finger. And it's not because I don't think I'm deserving. It's because I think I'm so deserving that I want to be completely surprised by the universe. I want it to be Christmas again. I want it to be like that. I know it's coming. I can feel it. And the reason I feel it is because I'm working in concert with my higher self to usher in higher frequencies. Now, this is something else I want to share. Everything that you're able to integrate within your physical structure has no choice but to manifest. I'm going to repeat that. Everything that you're able to integrate within your physical structure, and we are talking magnetics and energetics, has no choice but to materialize. Has no choice. It has to manifest. If you look at frequencies or emotions like anger, sadness, they carry a certain charge. So those will magnetize to you similar experiences, because your universe, your personal hologram is a mirror. And I think I've touched on this before, where if you're an angry person, the universe is just going to respect your wishes and send you more things to be angry about. But you don't have to be angry. You can see it as a choice. It's an option that's being offered to you in that moment. Do you want the blue pill or the red pill? Which one are you going to choose? Are you going to get reactive? Are you going to repeat a pattern? Or are you going to choose a new vibrational selection? You're going to choose a new emotion instead. And when you do that, you kind of reform or reconfigure your DNA, and you're bringing in higher frequencies. I hope this is making sense. So to me, if I'm able to go abracadabra or hocus pocus and it shows up, it's too easy. And a lot of people can go, I want to get drunk today, and they're drunk in an hour. You know, nothing wrong with that. But if it's too easy, you may not be challenging yourself enough. Which leads me to my next point. It is imperative that we practice patience. Imperative, especially now, because we are being inundated with so many different energies at this time, galactic light codes, photonic light, you name it. So you might be spinning out of control because you have so many ideas, like a million ideas of different businesses you can launch or different downloads you're receiving. But we want to temper that, okay? You have to temper that energy. You don't want to get pulled into the rabble. You want to claim your authority and say, okay, I'm getting bombarded with a lot of energy right now. Yay, I'm receiving an upgrade. My DNA is being upgraded to a new level. That doesn't mean I have to take any of these ideas on board right now. I can just be. And by being and by accepting and by embracing the upgrade, you're actually increasing your magnetic frequency way more than if you take one of those ideas on board. Not always, but you'll know if you have peace around it. If you receive a brilliant idea and you're like, I'm going to sit with this one for a little bit, and I might hit snooze button once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and if it keeps ringing, then you know it's probably something that you're supposed to take on board. Okay? In other words, the universe has delivered your package, and it's like, this is it, this is your purpose, or this is that genius idea that you needed. But most of the time, if I feel like my head is spinning 1,000 miles a minute, I'll be like, okay, let me get back to my center point, and whatever idea is meant to stick will still be here because I'm that magnetic. So what else did I want to discuss? I wrote a couple of points. Let me see. All right, this is a big one. Every thought that you have is frequency. So the way that it works is that you have a thought, you pulse it out, and then it starts to kind of filter down time and space. It starts to make its way down the spiral of time and space. It goes into your emotional body, and then it lands in your physical realm. The same goes for disease. You might be running a pattern that's very discordant to your native self, to your higher self, to your original self. And because you keep feeding into that story or into that same pattern, that energy is going to start off as an energy, all right? These patterns are energetics. And then it's going to start to set into your emotional body. Ooh, I'm feeling stress. Ooh, I'm feeling worry. Ooh, I'm feeling anxiety. Okay? That's when you know it's in your field, in your emotional field. And then if you keep feeding it and you're still not listening and you're not doing something about it, remedying the cause or championing the cause, it's going to set in again into your physical body. And it's going to deposit as an illness. So the same goes for manifestation. You pump out a thought. It takes time for it, though, to descend onto this plane, which is why patience is so required. Patience is highly necessitated on this path. If you're not practicing patience, what's going to happen is you're going to line up with another frequency that may not have been that original frequency or that the thing that you really wanted. So in other words, let's say that you're standing on floor 3 of a building. And let's just imagine that that's the current overall energy that you have. From that place, you're like, I really want to be married someday. I want to meet the love of my life or my twin flame. All right, you've just sent out a frequency to the penthouse, all right, or to floor 8, because what you're asking for is on floor 8. Otherwise, it would already be in your life. You got it? If it's not in your life, it's because it's either that it's not time and that you're undergoing other lessons right now, or you're going through some sort of an evolution process, or that the universe doesn't think you're ready yet. All right, another example I'm getting right now is if you said to me, Phil, are you ready to speak in an audience of 5,000 people? I'd be like, I don't know about that. So I feel like YouTube and Instagram is like a platform that is like my spiritual boot camp to prep me for all of that. But if I was there already, I'd probably be on stage. Does that make sense? But I'm not reaching for that because I'm already full from within. And that's my point. I'm never going to chase that because what I'm doing is everything right now. It feels complete. And that's how I've been able to manifest more and more and more, because what I'm doing now feels complete. I don't feel like I'm lacking anything. I don't feel like I'm needing to fill a void and that if I never amount to someone who speaks on stage, then I'll be less than. I'm successful. I feel it. I feel rich in my soul. So let's say that you're on floor 3 of a building and you're like, I want that, but that's on floor 8. Well, you would then have to go through a process of self-initiation or initiation with your guides where you start to boost your vibration until you hit frequency floor 8. And once you hit that frequency, you meet the love of your life. But you wouldn't have to look for it. And here's the other thing. If you're always looking for something outside of you to fulfill you, you're going to stay at floor 3 because you're in a loop cycle. It's a loop. I always see them as a loop. So yes, you may attract another lover, but they will be in the same range that you're in, which there's nothing wrong with that. That could be a beautiful experience. I'm just saying, with my own personal journey, I've skipped so many steps I thought I had to go through. When I first started, I thought I'd be a personal trainer, then a yoga teacher, then a healer, then a writer, then I'd be able to do readings. And I skipped 5 of those steps because I believed in myself and I kept working with my emotional structure to integrate higher frequency. And I'll get into that in a minute. So you can skip so many steps if you just learn how to harness that life force. So many. So let's say that you're longing for this lover or you're longing for your purpose. Fold it back in. The vision I'm getting now is imagine that you're like a lizard and you're sticking your tongue out. Bring it back in. Bring that energy back in. Or like a frog or something. I don't know. Because what we have a tendency of doing is I'm going to leave my center now because something is lacking from within me and I'm going to go and fill that void. And then that's going to give me that instant gratification, which is fleeting. That's a temporary feeling. It's like someone who needs crack and they're doing everything they can to look for that next hit. And then they're like, oh, I feel so much better. But you're still in the loop because you're going to need crack in another 7 hours. You see? So the key would be, why am I needing crack? Horrible example. Why am I needing to look for my lover or to search for my everlasting romantic love of my life? Why should I do that when really there's an emotion that I'm feeling that is asking for my attention? There's an emotion that I'm feeling that is asking for my attention. And all I'm about to do right now is swallow a Tylenol to mask that pain or to mask that emotion, rather than doing my due diligence to go within myself and get to the bottom of it. Get to the bottom of it. And a lot of us have stories that govern us our entire life. We've had abandonment issues, and then we're chasing the tail of the dragon our entire life. I'm going to chase the emotionally unavailable guy because I want to feel wanted. And that's still playing into the story of I was abandoned and I'm still trying to make up for that. When really all your guys are asking you to do is, I'm feeling lonely right now. I want to be held. Let me connect with the emotion. Let me visualize my lover holding me. Let me hold myself. Let me cradle myself. Because I don't need to look for that from without. I just need to connect to it from within. I like that. Yeah. That's a good one. So I'll probably rewatch it just to get that one. But anyways, my point is, and this is my next point, and this is so very important. Human beings, we were never supposed to get involved with physical form. We decided to descend upon earth because it would be an experiment to see what it's like to disconnect from God, to disconnect from who we are, and to either decide to reconnect or not. We have a free will here. It's a free will experiment. I always think we're like in a lab and we're like being watched or something. And so many of us do things that are super predictable. We're like robots. And I've talked about that in my other video, how to break out of the matrix. But anyways, it's important for us to be divergent and not be so predictable. And when we came in with our assignment, the assignment was to reconnect to the truth of who you are. Don't get distracted by external things. Don't let these external magnets absorb you. Claim your authority, know that you are sovereign, and that you are the governor of your mind. But because we're all psychically and intricately connected, we're constantly picking up on other people's desires, other people's thoughts, And then we're like, ooh, yeah, I think I want to go do that. Which is kind of like taking the bait. Because if you were to just pause yourself and ask yourself, where's this coming from? Where's this thought coming from? Because it's not my thought. This thought existed way before I came in. So where's this thought coming from? Then you'd be able to examine yourself and then learn to work with your emotions to integrate the higher frequency. What happens when you integrate higher frequency? Well, all frequency is magnetic. So the higher frequencies you integrate into your physical structure and into your emotional structure, the more that things will be drawn to you. That's how it works. And you don't have to work for it. You're working for it, but spiritually. You understand? So I'm not saying like, just go eat chips all day long and have 5 tubs of ice cream all day long and just be. No. Do that if you want, obviously. Everyone is allowed to have a sabbatical. But I'm saying that like, you still have to put in the work, but you're doing it with your imagination. You're doing it with your visualization. You're doing it by working with your emotional system. And the vision I always get is like, we came here without our connection to that native intelligence, without God, without source. And we're like, oh, there's gold there. Let's go get that. Ooh, there's more gold over there. Ooh, there's land. Let's go get that land. And we're like, I want all of it. And that caused us to become externally focused. So to me, a sin, because I'm not Christian at all, I've never even read the Bible, but if I was to take like the metaphysical representation or definition of a sin, to me it would be like doing something that's not congruent to your highest self. Because your highest self has all the answers you need. Your highest self will bring everything to you magically, because it's alchemy, just by working with your mind and your emotions. And you'll never again have to go chase money or be like, do this, do that, do this, do that. You'll never have to do that again. That's exhausting. That will deflate your balloon. It's going to take the air out of your tires every time. And when you start to bring in those higher 5th dimensional, 6th dimensional, 7th dimensional frequencies, you're not as physically focused. Like I could have turned this into a webinar and have you guys call in at the end. And I chose not to, because it's not about money for me. It's about following joy. And I felt inspired to do this for you guys. That's 5D. You're not governed by time. You're not governed by money anymore. But you always have plenty of it because you're innovative, you're creative, and you're magical. You're magical. So, going back to what I was saying, it's like we separated off from that higher consciousness, from source consciousness. We came here and we're like, ooh, yeah, yeah. And over the course of time, we completely lost our way. We forgot the key recipe or the formula. Like I mentioned earlier, we forgot the winning formula, which is my universe is reflecting things to me that I need to address from within, not from without. And as I connect to those emotions of sadness or loneliness or missing someone, and I fold it back in, meaning I don't step out of myself to go get it, I fold it back in, then by default, my frequency is going to raise, and then everything I want is going to be a match to that. Everything I desire is going to become a match to where I am. Does that make sense? So that's been my secret. And I've gotten to a place now where manifestation has nothing to do with materiality. Manifestation to me is how I'm feeling right now. Just being able to live my purpose. Reaching for higher emotions when I'm not in alignment. That to me is manifestation, because that feeling of bliss, that feeling of ecstasy, that feeling of joy and peace, to me, takes the cake. I don't have an attachment to the physical plane anymore. But because I'm dwelling in that higher frequency, my physical universe is always providing for me because it's a match. And it will always be the case. This hologram was designed to be a mirror to your insides, to your inner being. So humans got too wrapped up in money, in I need gold, da 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 da. And there's nothing wrong with these things. I like nice things, believe me. I love nice things. I don't need those nice things. I come from nothing. So I'm grateful for what I have. And I'm even grateful for what I didn't have. That's my point. There's nothing wrong with materiality, but the focus changes. And if we get physically focused for 20,000 years, 30,000 years, 40,000 years, well, evidently, yes, we're going to lose our connection to source. And now we're retracing our footsteps back through these videos, through breath work, through speaking our truth, through standing in your power, standing tall, owning your authority, claiming your divinity. That's what we're doing now. But we were always these divine beings. It's not something that we have to work for. Yes, from one perspective, to me, meditation is working your way towards that higher feeling. But who you are, your native frequency, is already all-knowing. You are the higher self, incarnate in this body. You are the higher self. And all those distractions and temptations pulled you away from that. They deterred you. You get it? And even now, if you pay attention to what still pulls you out, like if you're overly thinking about your twin flame, that's not mindfulness. Don't judge yourself, but recognize in that moment, there's an emotion within you that needs to be integrated. And as you integrate it, you're returning to your higher self. You're coming back to your power. And as a result, your magnetic resonance augments. And then your twin flame calls you. That's how it works. But never do it for the purpose of having your twin flame call you. Or never do it for the purpose of finding your purpose. Or never do it for the purpose of money. That's where it gets really tricky. It's about genuinely having zero attachment to the physical plane, because all that matters to you now is how you feel. And that's the biggest message I have for you today. We got involved with physical form. And that was okay, because we accumulated experiences along the way. But where that delicious, yummy, gilded knowledge lies is in those higher bandwidths, which are closer to source consciousness. So let me see if I have anything else before we go, but I think this was pretty decent. To keep in mind that everything you ask for has a higher resonance. Keep that in mind. So why are you asking for it? Can you maybe go inside and instead tweak your system? Crank the volume up of your vibration and say to yourself, I'm not going to play that game. You know, when I started my business, I made a pact with my universe because I was a personal trainer before, and so many people took advantage of me, which was my mirror because I was still taking advantage of myself. I wasn't honoring the value I brought. So I let people cancel on me last minute and not pay me. And I was like, it's fine. And I'd be sitting around twiddling my thumbs, waiting for people at the gym, and they never showed up. So my guides at the time said to me, Phil, this is your training ground so that once you launch your spiritual business, there are no holes. You have strong boundaries. You understand your value. And that's how it's been. It's been an amazing way to, I thank my personal training because it taught me how to value myself and how to, start or launch this business with a clean slate. But I made a pact with my universe that doing the spiritual work, my goal was to just help one person. And if it was one person, I'd be more than happy. And I also made a pact that I would never, ever chase money. I would never be someone who sells packages. If you're watching this now and you sell packages, there's nothing wrong with that approach. I just want you to know that. But different people have different prescriptions, if you will. And for me, that prescription never really suited me. I wanted people to come of their own volition. And if I could serve them, then I'm happy to serve them. But I'm against entanglement, and you guys know that. My hashtag is be a dot, and I have a webinar titled Be a Dot. That's amazing. But I live my life as a dot, and I don't get, not as a line, I don't get twirled up in all these different things and entanglements. And to me, being a dot is being free of entanglement. And that has to do with time. It has to do with people. It's really doing what I want to do from moment to moment to moment within this higher vibrational range. It's walking in full trust with my universe from moment to moment, not needing anything outside of me to keep me afloat. So I'm not saying that if you offer packages, there's anything wrong with that. It just didn't float my boat. And to me, that's a form, how I perceive reality, just me, right? Just through my unique DNA. I don't like to know that we're going to talk next week. I don't like to know that because I believe that you might find the answer by next week. I don't like to believe that someone is expecting something from me in a week from now, like to go to dinner or to get back on a phone call with friends or anything. I just don't like expectations placed on me, and I don't like to place them on others. So I live my life as a dot, and that has really harmonized with my soul. And I don't know that I'd ever go back. But I'm open. I'm always receptive to change. So if my universe wants me to go back to planning and organizing all kinds of things, then I'm sure I will. So let's see. But yeah, you get to set the stage. You get to decide what you want your life to look like. And that's up to you. So I'm pretty sure we got it all in. There's one more thing I wanted to share with you guys. So let's say that you're at a job right now that you really don't like. You still go every day, right? Because your physical body is being magnetized by that job. In other words, the job has a higher frequency than you. There's nothing wrong with that. It could just mean that you need the money, or that the money, maybe you don't see your value yet of what you're capable of if you left that job. But what the guides are always saying is don't just leave the job, because that would be a reckless thing to do. Because it's not about the external. Again, it's about you working with your emotions. So you go to your job, and while you're there, you can say, I'm so grateful to be supported by this job. That integrates higher frequency. And then when you go back home, or when you take yourself out for dinner, take yourself out to a nice restaurant and invite that energy of wealth into your beingness. So the solution is never to leave the job. It can be, but if you're not vibrating at the level of what you want yet, then there's still going to be a gap. What that means is once you leave the job, you might start to freak out because you don't have money coming in, because you weren't really at that vibration yet. So what I always did is I stayed at jobs that I didn't like, and I meditated. And I started ridding myself of beliefs that told me that I wasn't worthy of my own business. So I wasn't worthy of making my own money, or I wasn't worthy of having a flexible schedule. So I had to work with all these beliefs and eradicate them from my belief system. And that takes time. So remember, the other message I have for you is what you ask for non-physically takes time to filter into physicality. What you ask for non-physically, meaning everything you're asking for is physical, right? A lot of the things that you ask for, like a lover, but they hold a frequency. We don't know that. You're actually asking for something that's non-physical. It's a feeling. It's a feeling. That non-physical energy is going to start to spiral down time and space, space and time, and eventually set in to your physical plane of existence. So that takes time. So just exercising patience, and whenever you flare up and you get impatient, give yourself more love. All is well. It's magic. It's magic. So you ask for something, and then imagine that you're like your higher self's assistant, and you're going to clear the pathway for that thing to arrive. I love that visual. So you're going to clear your impatience. You're going to clear your lack of belief. You're going to clear your doubt. You're going to shape it in such a way where that energy can seamlessly and readily enter into your reality. I hope that helps. I thought that was an amazing way to end. And I just want to give you guys a special thanks for your support. The likes, the subscribing helps me. It helps circulate my message. And obviously for the donations you made tonight, they mean the world to me, because I always dreamed of living a life where I can give free content and be acknowledged. It's not about money, it's about acknowledgement. So I thank you for that. And I'm sending you so much love and so many blessings, you guys. So much love.